Hey amateur radio operators, thanks so much for stopping by today. My name is Johnny and my amateur radio call sign is Whiskey 5 Kilo Victor. Thanks for tuning in to Signal Trek. Well, I've installed another HF antenna at the house. It really is just the next HF antenna that I'm trying out, playing around with, tinkering around with. Essentially what it is, I'll put a graphic up of what this really rough graphic of what this antenna is here at my house.
This antenna is a 65-foot length of 18-gauge wire connected to a 4-to-1 unun transformer. It's tied into a radial plate with 4 radials spread out across the yard, easy to roll up when it's time for yard work. A 40-foot mast lifts the wire just above the house for a clean, simple setup.
And what we're going to do today is I'm going to show you guys how to use the Palstar AT-500, which is my manual antenna tuner that I use here in the shack with the Yaesu FT891 today. We're going to do a first time tune and basically find all of the resonant points for all the different frequencies from 80 through 10 meters. And then what I'm going to do is write all those numbers down. That way I have a quick reference, so to speak. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to put that point somewhere right around the FT8 frequencies because I primarily use my antenna here at home for digital modes. I fight with so much noise on the bands here in my home QTH that I really just find myself doing digital modes 90% of the time unless I'm hunting a POTA station on single sideband. I'm not a fan of automatic antenna tuners. I've tried them in the past and I've had nothing but issues with them. So I'm a huge fan of the manual antenna tuners because it really teaches you more about your antenna system, about inductance, about reactance, and you really get to a point where you understand a lot more about resonance instead of just using an automatic tuner, which is just, you know, push a button and you go and just hope for the best that it's going to find a match. And what I found a lot of times in the past when you're experimenting with antennas that are going to be really far off from where they should be, that auto tuners really aren't the best thing to pick. That's why I always typically go with manual tuners from now on. Not to say that they don't have their place. Automatic tuners are definitely have their positives.
Now, some of you are probably wondering, why only 4 radials? Well, honestly, it all comes down to simplicity. I wanted something that I could set up quickly, take down easily, and not have to wrestle with every time I mow the lawn. Sure, I could probably squeeze a little bit more performance out of this antenna by adding more radials, but it's already a bit lossy by design. For me, the trade-off is worth it. I'd rather have a setup that's practical and easy to maintain, plus what I usually use in portable or field setups seems to work surprisingly well right here at home too.
Now here's a quick rundown of the controls. This crank knob right here is the roller inductor for coarse adjustments. It's a little confusing. 288 is minimum inductance, whereas 0 is maximum. Okay, but we'll start off at 288. This knob is the variable capacitor that uses a 6-to-1 reduction drive for fine tuning. We'll be tuning 80 through 10 meters. Starting with 80, I'll center near the FT8 frequencies so I can record the tuner settings for quick reference later in WSJTX. Now, since this is a vertical style antenna, things like wind or shifting radials can slightly change the match. So expect to make small touch-ups in the future to keep the SWR around 1-to-1. The FT891 wants a 1.5 or lower for full output. The AT-500 manual recommends 50 to 100 watts for tuning. We'll start at 50. First, listen for a rise in the noise floor, and then we'll fine-tune for the best match.
You'll notice it takes me a bit longer to tune some bands than others. That's because some frequencies on this particular antenna have what's called a sharper Q. Basically, they only hit resonance in a really narrow range, while others are a little more forgiving and cover a wider area.
That part was boring, right? Well, to be expected. You only need to do that once, and then subsequent times, each time you go back, you just use those numbers that you wrote down on your reference card, and it's a lot easier to get back to that point. So yeah, I love experimenting with different wire antennas here at the Home QTH. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to this video, and until the next one, I'll say 7-3.